Page 128, Old Joe Clark. This is an example of quartet music, an ensemble music for 4 parts. It's not something you'd necessarily sit down at a piano and play, although there are people who could do this. They could just, in their heads, they would do this. It is for 4 concert keyed instruments, because if you look at the key signature, all the key signatures are the same. So if you were going to do it with B-flat instruments, then all 4 have to be B-flat instruments. And they could read this music. It would sound a little different than it would on a piano, but they could read, or if you had 4 different E-flat instruments, they could play this. As long as all the instruments involved are the same key or keyed to the same notes, then you can play it. They could play this. You could also do more than 4. You could be 2 people on a part. You know, it could be an octet or 8 people or any number of people. I don't know. You need at least 4 to cover the parts. Now, there's no piano part here. You can tell that by there's no grand staff. The piano part would have that curly brace in front of the staff. That indicates the piano part. So this is strictly 4 instruments of some kind. Could be string instruments, wind instruments, who knows. So exactly what you're supposed to do here, I don't know what to tell you. I wouldn't expect you to sit down and play this on piano, all the parts at the same time. You need to be able to play any one part and probably any 2 parts, so you're familiar with it, because if you're going to actually lead this ensemble or teach them, you need to know the music. So you just look it over. It's the same process, sort of. Look it over and see how long it is. I see it's 4 pages long. That seems long, but whenever you have 4 parts, 4 lines, or 4 stanzas at a time, you only get like 2 or 3 lines on a page. So yeah, you're gonna have more pages. It's really not that long. And key is C major, no sharps or flats except for accidentals. And cut time, or 2/2 time. But when I start learning a piece in 2/2 time, I pretend it's in 4/4 time first. And then when I'm ready to take it up to speed, then I'll put it in 2/2 time. So just briefly, just play through each of the parts, the soprano part or top part. They give you finger numbers. That's useless. Absolutely useless in my opinion, because this is not piano music. I don't know why they give you finger numbers, because an instrument, a violin or somebody, they're not going to use these fingers. They're going to use the fingers appropriate to their instrument. So whatever it says. And if you want to get an idea, try putting in the articulation and so forth. And then later on, you're down here. You get the... And then staccatos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, okay. And you're thinking, wait a minute, what about measure 20? I got 2 notes here. How's a wind instrument going to do 2 notes? The answer is they're not. So either you have 2 instruments playing the top part, and here they're splitting, or you have a string instrument like a violin playing it, because they can play 2 notes at the same time. That's fine. So this could be like a string quartet. So I go through and I play the top part, and it's clear it's the melody. Okay, need to know where the melody is. And then the second part, the alto part, could be another violin, could be a viola. And how do I know it could be a violin or viola? Well, it's, both of them can play these notes. Now, if it gets lower than a G, goes down below it, it's got to be a viola, because a violin can only play down to a G. That's as low as it goes. But again, on measure 16, you got these. But again, a violin or viola can play 2 notes at the same time. Then the third part, or the tenor part, probably a cello. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now remember that accidental in the second measure, the B flat, is only good for that measure. The next measure, that's a B natural. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And we're doing this, oh goody. And then finally the bass part. Could be another cello. As long as they can play these notes down here, I think a cello can go down to C. If there are any notes lower than a C, then I need a string bass. Otherwise, it could be another cello. I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I think a bass would sound good there anyway. Yeah. But when we get over to what, measure 17, you're here. See the ABA under the staff? That means go down an octave. So instead of here, you're down here. Okay, now we're too low for cello. Cello doesn't go that low, so this is going to have to be a string bass or some instrument, tuba, some instrument that can play those notes. Then if you want, you can try playing two parts together. Well, the two most important parts in the ensemble are the melody and the bass. The bass supports everything, and the melody is the melody. So try those, the top and bottom staves together. See, that's staccato this time. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The bass part has the melody here. Isn't that cool? It goes down. Try the top two parts, the first and second. You don't have to go that fast. Okay, you play it real slow. You're just trying to hear how the parts sound together. That's all. And then of course you can play the two bottom parts together if you want. Chuck going on. Once you get the four parts together and they're playing them and you can hear them and they got the notes and the rhythms and everything fine, and then you start getting into the articulation and the dynamics and feeling this stuff and put it in cut time. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah. 2, 1. Feel it in 2, although the half notes throughout kind of help you do that. Because the speed is boisterously, isn't that nice? It's not a speed, it's a feeling, a mood, but yeah, you're just kind of moving around. Cut time will tell you. It's not something you do at a funeral probably. It's a rather happy piece. So I don't have a lot to say on this, but in this case, you don't have to transpose anything. You're just playing everything as is. If somebody like a violin or a clarinet or somebody that wants to play one of the parts, they got to transpose the music, or you might have to transpose it and write it out for them or something. You know.